and gentlemen, you are watching Concert Junkies, Rob and John. Oh, yeah.
And we're live. If you're new here, I'm Rob, and would you like to introduce yourself?
What's up, man? My name's Michael. I own the Rooster in Gastonia, North Carolina. We are a live music and entertainment venue. We host an open mic every Wednesday, and then we do concerts and stage productions on any other day of the week.
So would you like to tell us how you got started in the business?
Well, I started working in bars and restaurants when I was 15. So before I did this, I had a lot of experience in the bar business. There's a million reasons why I decided to open the Rooster. I would say probably the most important reason why I decided to do this was to bring people together. And, when my wife and I started kicking the idea around of doing something like this, it was born out of what we were seeing happening around us socially. Just didn't like what I was seeing, the way people were treating each other. There was, a lot of discourse. A lot of people were kind of scurrying into these little ideological bubbles, and I was like, I can't do anything about this. It sucks. I hate to see it, but there is something I can do for my community. And it always, the Rooster was always meant to be a place for locals. It was always meant to be a place for people who love live music and entertainment to come together, no matter what your background is, and come just have a good time, unplug, unwind, and kind of step outside of the rat race for a little bit. But, it didn't take long for people further out to catch on, and we've kind of become more of a regional hub than anything in terms of concerts. But then we have our open mic, which is still kind of for the locals. So, really, it was always about bringing people together. And I think that we've accomplished a lot of the goals we set out to accomplish, even though we've only been open for 3 years.
So how'd you get the name, though?
Oh, man, I kicked so many names around, man. Jesus. I actually pined over the name of this place for months. I started, I finally decided to pull the trigger on this idea in late 2018. It was October of 2018. We didn't open until October of 2022. 2 years of that was because of COVID. But I really, for like about 8 or 9 months, I just kicked around a bunch of different names, and I'd come up with a name that I thought was really cool. And then I'd tell my wife, like, well, what do you think about this name? Or what do you think about that name? Or I'd sit on it and think about it for a minute. And then I'd wake up the next day and be like, no, that name sucks. So one day I'm driving down the road and I'm listening to the radio, and Alice in Chains song comes on. And, it's no secret, I'm a huge Alice in Chains fan. They're one of my favorite all-time bands. And I was listening to the song, and just in my head, just kind of sort of flipping through the Rolodex of Alice in Chains songs. And the Rolodex kind of stopped spinning on Rooster. And I thought about that for a minute, and I thought a little bit about the song. It's not even my favorite Alice in Chains song, but the context of the song, this protest song about the Vietnam War and how veterans were treated when they came home from Vietnam. And then you think about how that hasn't really changed much. I think we do a better job now of taking care of our veterans than we ever have. But for a very long time, it was a demographic that was often forgotten. And the blue collar connotation, to the story of that song really resonates with the community here that I live in. There's a lot of people that grow up and feel like they have no choice but to go off into the military if they want to get out of this town. And so I just, all of those feelings surrounding the content of that song kind of really sunk in and was like the Rooster. And then I think more about it, about how like it's just this easy kind of iconic name, the Rooster. I felt like it would be something that people would easily remember. And then, I don't really talk a lot about the story of why I call it that, but it's really kind of like tipping my cap to the blue collar, hardworking people of America in our community.
so people can get to know you a little bit better here?
I mean, you can ask me anything, man. I've been pretty much an open book since day one. I don't really enjoy being a public person. It's not really what I signed up for. It's one of those unintended consequences. You know, I didn't think when I opened this place that people would care that much about me. But yeah, I mean, what do you need? What do you want to know, man? I'll answer anything.
Start with a fun question then. If you were stuck in an elevator with one cartoon character, who would it be?
Jessica Rabbit.
Okay. Funny business or no funny business?
Well, for obvious reasons, not. If now, what's the context? How long? Let me ask this: how long am I stuck in the elevator for?
An hour?
For an hour? Yeah, Jessica Rabbit. Now, but if I was looking to have a conversation with a cartoon character, goodness gracious, when I was younger, I loved Garfield cartoon. I don't know. When I was a kid, I just thought that that cartoon was so fun. So I guess hanging out with Garfield in an elevator wouldn't be too bad.
I know this would be a hard one. What would be your perfect lineup for the local scene to play at your venue?
Yeah, that's not really a fair question. I really
never said it was going to be fair. I was never going to say it was going to be fair.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go by genre. If I'm putting together, man, yeah, I really don't play favorites, but I'll do it like this. Some of my favorite people to hang out with, if I was going to do a metal show, I really love hanging out with the guys in Valor Morgulis. I love hanging out with the guys in the coursing. Blackwater Drowning, they're a lot of fun, and Witch Pit, those guys are awesome. Those are all bands that I would love to have in a room together, hanging out, partying, having a good time, and playing music. If I was going to go indie, there's some really, really good indie bands in this Charlotte scene. First and foremost, my buddy James and World Sauntering Day. I love those guys. I'd love to have those guys together to hang out for a show. My Blue Hope, Aaron Lawrence from My Blue Hope he's one of my favorite people in the community. The Phantom Friends, that's a band that hasn't been here in a while, but their music's incredible and they're always a good hang. And then a fourth on that bill, oh Lord, have to think about that for a minute. Warp Street's a really good indie band that we've had here before that I wouldn't mind having back. But yeah, that would be like a good indie lineup. I should probably stop there. I don't think I want to keep going. Probably insulted enough people already.
I mean, I don't think you insulted anybody, but and if you did, you know my feelings on that one. But do you have any advice for anybody that would want to start their own venue, and pros and cons, and you're working 24 hours a day regardless? Is there, I know there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but what advice could you give them?
Number one, I would say do it in a college town. You need to do it somewhere where there's a big university or a cluster of colleges, or do it in a major metropolitan area. It is incredibly difficult to keep this ship afloat in a small town. We rely heavily on out-of-towners for the majority of our revenue. And if you want to do this long term, you need to make sure that there's a pool of potential customers all the time. And it's really, really hard to do that in a small town, especially a small town in the South, when you're not doing a lot of country or gospel. So yeah, I would just say location, location, location.
As your recollection, the farthest person that said they've came to your venue.
I don't know which is further away, but I've had people come up from Florida from shows, and I've had people come down from like the Jersey and New York area for shows. I'm not sure which is further distance. And we've had a bunch of people come down from Ohio for shows as well.
Like when I came to brewstock, I did 13 hours.
That's probably the farthest. I don't think anyone's come as far as that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know most of Florida is between 8 and 10 hour drive to here. Yeah, we've had a lot of people come down from Virginia, up from South Carolina, over from Tennessee. But yeah, I mean, you came down from 13 hours. That's a long. I don't think anyone's come from any further than that.
Yeah, we came 13 hours. It was a hell of a time. I can't wait for next year.
Hopefully you'll come down before brewstock. We got some pretty awesome stuff lined up for 26.
Do you mind giving us a little Easter egg, or you can't talk about it yet?
I don't have all the details in place for some of these things. I will say we won't be doing as much out back in the parking lot as we have been the last couple of years. These first few years, I've been, whenever we do stuff out in that lot, it's a lot more work than it looks like. We have to permit the lot. In order to permit the lot, I have to literally go door to door to all of my neighbors on this block and get them to sign off on us blocking off the lot. That's number one. So the businesses on this street have to be okay with us blocking off the lot. It costs a lot of money to do outside production. And historically, I've given a lot of opportunities to people that want to do stuff because either it's for a good cause or because, I think it's a cool idea, but they haven't all panned out as well as we would like. And so when you're putting that much time and energy and resources and money into an event and it falls flat and you walk away, just, it's like a gut punch. And when it happens multiple times throughout the year, it makes you want to go for more quality over quantity. And where, up until now, it's always been about providing opportunities. Now we're looking more at we want to make sure that we're doing the right things outside and we're not just doing stuff just to do it. But as far as upcoming shows in 26 goes, I will say this: we tried something this year for the first time we've never done before. We did some the summer stomp show. We had a wrestling rink out back, so we had music inside and wrestling outside, and that was a lot of fun. And we're definitely going to do more events like that in the future. So I can that's a little nugget I can give you.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Shout out to the homie King Rash.
That's pretty cool. So when you were a kid, were you an MTV person or VH1?
Oh, for sure. Both, actually. When I was a little kid, we didn't have cable TV. So I'd have to go to my friend's house when I became, a little bit older, preteen years. I had a neighbor that had a satellite. And this was like the old school satellites. These are like the big, huge satellite dishes that you still see out in people's yards. So one of my neighbors had one of those, and all of the neighborhood kids would go to his place to watch MTV or VH1. And there was this one channel. This is funny. This is how I got into hip hop music. I was like 9, 10 years old, 11 years old during this time. And there was a station it was like a local access station in New York called The Box. And it was, majority of it was hip hop and R&B. It was kind of like BET before BET.
Okay.
And they did it was a lot of we're talking late 80s, early 90s. and they played a lot of hip hop videos. So that's where I learned about Eric B and Rakim, Digital Underground, Redman, KRS-One, and then in NWA, and all that stuff was what they were playing on. And we ended up gravitating more toward this station called The Box because the videos were so cool. Some of the hardcore rap was, we thought was cool as kids. And then Wu-Tang come along. And Wu-Tang just completely changed the rap game. And like I got heavy into hip hop in the early 90s because of that station out of New York that we were just happened to catch on the satellite. But yeah, as a kid, I didn't really get to watch a whole lot of it because my parents just refused to get cables. We legit had 3 channels growing up.
So talking about that, do you remember going and trying to catch your favorite song on the radio to record it, and the stupid host kept talking in front of it?
So yes, we me and the kids in the neighborhood, we all had like big boom boxes, and we would take cassette tapes and we'd put a little bit of tape over the little holes in the top of the tape, and we'd put them back in to record songs off the radio. So what we would do is we would record ourselves introing a song and wait for it to come on the radio, and then record the song on that tape. And then when it was over, we'd stop the recording and then record ourselves like intro in another song, wait for that song to come on. And like we would make these little cassette tapes of us being the DJs and record them off the radio.
I remember doing that as well.
That was a lot of fun.
I mean, is there like a Pacific I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. Is there like a Pacific song that puts you in a happy mood? Or, like we all have songs we go to when we're happy, sad, emotional, I'm not gonna say hungry, but the feelings. Is there like a song that you like
it's more
have to hear? And
it's more albums for me, to be honest. I have certain albums that are like my go-to for certain moods, or if I'm feeling sad or down or depressed, there's a specific album that I'll whip out or I'll pull up to listen to, and it kind of helps me kind of work through the feelings and the emotions of that. It's like comfort food for the soul or whatever. There's a lot of songs that make me happy. Sometimes I'm happy, but I want to hear some heavy metal, and I'm a huge fan of All That Remains and Killswitch Engage, and those are two of like, they're really, a lot of their music's really upbeat and positive. So if I'm happy and I want to hear some heavy music, I'll throw that on. Sometimes, when I was, around the same time, I was I've always been a big fan of Pearl Jam. And some of that older Pearl Jam stuff just really puts me in a good mood. Those guys, they've got all the accolades you can give to a band, but I still think some of their music's underrated because the musicianship and some of the poetry in Eddie Vedder's lyrics, I think, gets overlooked a lot of times. And then
there's a reason behind that why it's overlooked. I love them to death. I love them to death, and they were my first CD and tape. You don't understand him clearly.
That's definitely a fair criticism of Eddie Vedder.
That's what. Like, if you broke it down and you actually looked at the lyrics and everything else, you're like, oh my God, that's what he, I don't want to say a twang, but like his voice, there's a you could be anywhere in the world. You could be anywhere in the world and hear his voice, and it's him.
Yeah, he's got that West Coast surfer twang.
Yeah, so like I get what you're saying. It's just, what do you call it? If you don't break it down, and like I'm saying, the earlier days, if you don't break it down and look at the lyrics.
Oh yeah, I was big on when I was younger. Every tape or CD that I had, I pulled the cover out. I was reading all the lyrics, memorizing the lyrics. Yeah, I definitely did that a lot when I was younger. Now, a lot of times when you're listening to something, when you're streaming, like I know, like Spotify and Pandora, they'll put up lyrics for songs as they're playing. Sometimes that's kind of cool. Um,
Yeah, but there's nothing like opening up a brand new CD.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean,
That's
out
that
vinyl, yeah, all
that's
that
that
stuff. Yeah,
the smell alone.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I could be I still collect CDs and vinyl, but I'm saying, like, opening it up, it will bring you back to at least the 90s, maybe
yeah,
earlier.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I still have most of my CDs. When my wife and I moved in together, we just doubled our CD collection. It's funny because we had a lot of the same stuff, so we have like two of all the good stuff from the '90s and early 2000s. And we still have them now. We do have a record player, and we have started picking up vinyl albums to listen to at the house. That's a fun thing to do when you're just hanging out or you got friends over. You just put on. I tell you what, though, it's kind of been hard to find some stuff on vinyl. It's like a whole
Okay.
thing now.
Okay, well, speaking of that, I don't remember the name of the store. It's right next to you.
Oh, it's JG's.
We're gonna shout them out
Yeah, shout
because,
out to JG.
okay, because we went for a walk before. I needed an energy drink and cigarettes, so we went for a walk before brewstock started the second day. I'm looking in. We look in the window because, I mean, we thought they were closed because it was kind of dark in there for some reason. I was searching for the Corns. What do you call it? First released on record. It was in the window. I stopped everything I was doing, ran in, shut up, and take my money because I could not find it anywhere except for like Amazon. But you buy it on Amazon, it's not the same. It's not like going to Sam Goody or going to FYE or any record shop, and that moment, that feeling of, there's a picture of me hugging it. Okay, like, I'm just saying, there's nothing like, and they were the sweetest people ever.
Yeah, Jason is the guy that runs that spot. It's called JG's Vinyl and More. They're right next door to us. I mean, it is the coolest thing in the world to have a vinyl record store right next to our venue. And Jason is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And he's got some really, really good stuff over there. I mean, every time my wife and I, want an album, if he doesn't already have it, he'll get it. Like he's good people.
No, like, I wanted to give them a shout out because I'm like,
Mm.
well, we just went for a walk near that taco place. I just needed an energy drink and a pack of cigarettes, and yeah, shut up and take my money. It was like literally in the window.
Yeah, yeah, it's a cool spot.
Speaking of that, I'm gonna pull something up. There's no audio because I couldn't have it's not working, but the audio. I think you're gonna have a kick out of this because it was from the second day at Brewstock.
All right, what you got here?
Well, just give me 1 second because I had a stupid pop up for some reason. My computer is not liking me at this moment. All right. So I'm gonna minimize us for a second, and I know you remember this because it was me being me.
Oh yeah, my big fat ass.
So I found this on the one of the camera rolls, and I figured you would appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
So
good stuff.
it's good.
That was a good time, man.
That was a good
That's
time.
That was a good time. Yeah, it's those brewstock guys. They work so hard to put together a great event, and we've hosted it here uh, 3 times, and it's been each year has been amazing. That each year has been different. We've gotten to meet some really really cool bands, some really awesome musicians, and awesome people. Um, you guys came down this year for the and it was cool to kind of meet you guys and get to know you a little bit. It's how I got on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's all about networking and community and family and coming together, and that's the reason why I keep booking with the brewstock guys. Like I told them that as long as they want to do it here, they can. My hope is that festival outgrows our space. I would, nothing would make me happier than to see that festival turn into something much, much bigger. It's hard because there's festivals everywhere. Every market has promoters that are putting together festivals, and it seems like from April to October, there's a festival every other weekend somewhere. So there's a lot of competition. It's hard to do, but I know that those guys have their heart in the right place, and there's when you're doing festivals like that, and you're trying to make it like a regional thing, it's hard. I think there's always like growing pains and speed bumps. Sometimes you need to take a step back. It's another reason why we're cutting back on how many outdoor events we do, is because there's just so much involved in putting a production like that together. And at the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, it needs to be worth your time. It needs to be worth the effort. If the bands aren't happy with what they're getting paid, and the promoters and the venues putting all of this work into something, at the end of the day, we got nothing to show for it. It makes it a whole lot harder to want to do it again.
No, I mean I totally get that. I mean, even on small scale of just putting up flyers for people left and right and whatever the case may be, if it's not the attendance, it's not, what do you call it, worth doing it again.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
just we want to curate this awesome experience for people, and if people decide that they want to be a part of it, great. If they don't, then you keep trying different stuff. Brewstock's the one thing that we know people will come to every year, so and we're going to keep doing it. There's always tweaks that can be made, and ways to make things better. I'd like to add more stuff to the event. I'd like to get actors out here walking around on stilts and dressing up in costumes, but all that costs money, and you got to work up stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, I don't volunteer for the stilts, but if you need me to be a human breathalyzer or something of that nature, I'll do it. That's fine. But I'm already 6 foot. I don't need to be any taller.
Yeah, now they have professionals that do that kind of stuff.
So, do you want to promote what's going on in the next couple of weeks? I know you have some shows.
Yeah. So the holidays are coming. So the holidays are always a challenge because you never know what people will come out to and what they won't. Around the holiday season, a lot of people are out of town, and then a lot of people are in town from out of town. So you want to try to put together stuff that kind of has more mass appeal. So, our holiday season calendar, if you're going to be in the Charlotte Gastonia area in the next few weeks, we have starting this weekend, this Friday, we're hosting Turtle Smash. That's a live band emo night. They do all of the hits from the emo era. They're fantastic. My Gal Monday's opening that show. That's this Friday. We have an acoustic show this Saturday. And then, next week is the week of Thanksgiving. So that's always a tough week. So, we're going to do our open mic on Wednesday, the night before, but we're not going to be open on Thanksgiving Day. But the day after, on Friday the 28th, we're hosting Gastonia 2, which is it's like a dance party. It's going to be all dark wave, synth, goth type music. So we've got a couple DJs that are going to come set up, and they're going to spin all the stuff you want to hear from that genre of music, and just turn up for a dance party. And then the night after, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we're hosting a stage production called a Casanova Christmas. We've got it's basically a musical, like a theater drama type musical. So it's going to be a seated event. You'll come in, we're going to have a cocktail hour. We'll have some smooth music playing. We have a local guy who's going to be Elvis Presley to open the show. And then Trace Casanova is going to do his Christmas show, and that's we figured, with the holiday week, let's try some different stuff. And then moving on down the line, we got a stand-up comedy show on December the 5th with Grayson Magaha. Saturday the 6th, Crack a Smile presents the Gilby Clark, who you may recognize that name from Guns N' Roses, Slash the Snake Pit, Rockstar Supernova. But Gilby Clark's going to be doing an acoustic set here. The following week, on the 12th, we've got Fake Happy doing an acoustic show. That's a Paramore tribute. And then that's also the night we kick off our toy drive for the domestic violence shelter here in town. So we're asking people to bring new unwrapped toys to donate for the DV shelter. The 13th, Crack a Smile's back with another acoustic show with Mike Tramp, who you might know from White Lion. We've also got Prowess and Pageant and Mikey Black on that show. And then as we get closer to the holiday, we got a good old-fashioned rock and roll show on the 19th with Stone Whiskey and Tiger. And then the 20th is the big one. The 20th is our official Christmas party. It will be the end of our toy drive, so that we're going to wrap up our toy drive. So you'll be able to donate between the 12th and the 20th. And we've got an indie rock show that night. We've got My Blue Hope. We've got Darling Machines coming up from Atlanta, Georgia. And we've got Rothschild. And those are all three real good, like, alternative indie bands. And that's going to be our Christmas party on the 20th. And we hope everyone has a great Christmas. And we got a folk show on the 26th. We have a Pearl Jam and Seattle Sound tribute on the 27th. And then we're bringing back the Hee Haw Disco Rodeo for New Year's Eve. And this year it's going to be free. We're doing a free New Year's Eve show. We're going to run, because it's on a Wednesday, we're going to run open mic from 6 to 9:30. And then the Hee Haw Disco Rodeo is going to take over to close out the night. So a lot of fun stuff for the holiday season.
That's cool. Before we actually wrap this up, what was your best advice you were ever given, and the worst?
Man, the best. I never really had a mentor, man. Like, I really had to figure all this shit out on my own. I would say the best advice that I was ever given was my grandpa, who's probably he's my personal hero. He's gone now, but my grandpa always would tell me to get involved. Don't stand on the sideline, get involved. He said, and what he meant by that was, like, make yourself available to the community, to the business community, at large, and make yourself accessible. And because if you want to kind of see things change for the better, if you want to make the world around you better, you have to be willing to kind of put yourself out there a little bit and make yourself available. So, showing up, just show up. He would always say that, just show up, whether it's, believe it or not, I'm actually very involved with the Chamber of Commerce out here, and so a few leadership organizations in town. I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Again, it goes back to me not really looking for the spotlight, but I like working behind the scenes to make life better for people. Worst advice? It's a little PG-13, but no, I'm not going to go there. I don't know, man. I've gotten some bad advice before. The whole go for it when you know it's wrong, I guess would be probably the best example, when your buddies know that you're about to make a mistake, and they're like, do it, you can do it, go for it.
So pretty much hold my beer.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. But if I was to give advice, which you asked me once before, giving advice to someone wanting to do something similar that what I'm doing. But if I was just to give some advice in general, I would say be kind. Um, I'm not the most successful guy in the world, but I've been able to follow my dream, and I've been able to do that because I'm nice to people. Be kind, give people the benefit of the doubt. I always try to take the most generous um, interpretation of what people say and do. I try to be generous with rather than judgmental. And not to say that you should eat shit from anybody, because that's one thing I don't do is I don't take shit. But when you put out the right energy, you kind of don't really have to deal with a lot of bullshit because you're not attracting that energy. So be kind.
So before we actually wrap this up, because I know you have open mic night, and you have to be on the floor at some point at least.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody where you could follow the Rooster?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're the roostergastonia.com. We're at the Rooster Gastonia on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. We don't have a Snapchat, but yeah, we're at the Rooster Gastonia, and the roostergastonia.com is a website. There's an events tab where you can see all of our upcoming events. And if you're watching this and you're thinking about coming to a show, do it. Come to the show. Always go to the show. You can always leave if you're not having fun, but I guarantee you're going to have a good time here at the Rooster.
And I'd like to thank you for your time. I know you have to go back to the open mic night. If you're not following the Rooster, please do so. If you're not following me, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. It is live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and I'll see you guys, I think, December 3rd. That's the next one.
Right on,
Catch you guys later, and have a happy holiday if I don't speak to you.
Happy holidays, man. Peace and love.